bit just about you and how long you've been here and that kind of thing. And I'm gonna go make sure we got the air, everybody comfortable with the air?
Yes.
Well, my name's Tricia Wright. Kim knows me. I've been a paralegal victim advocate for 9 years in this office. Before that, I was a 911 dispatcher. So, our job is paralegal. Have you been through the life of the case? The life of the case, like they've told you. So when a juvenile gets charged, the police have 10 business days to get us that charge. It never happens in 10 days, but they're supposed to do it in 10 business days.
Okay.
So then we'll get that charge sent electronically to us, and Frankie will download it. And depending on the date that it happened, will depend on what court dates they're given. And we set that out every 6 months. So once we get that, we'll know if it's Whitney's case or Weeda's case. And that means whether it's my case or Frankie's case as far as victim advocate goes. I'm Whitney's victim advocate, Frankie is Weeda's, and Miriam will soon be Weeda's victim advocate. So we, the solicitors will determine the case, whether it goes to arbitration, juvenile pretrial diversion, or court. And then regardless of where it goes, if there's a victim in the crime, we send them out a victim letter and a victim impact statement, and I'll just pass this around. We give the victims about 10 days to respond to us. We'll give them 10 days in the letter, but then we'll wait 2 or 3 more after that. We'll also call the victim to say, hey, we received this case. This is kind of what you can expect from us. What are you expecting out of the case? More often than not, we don't get any response for these letters. A lot of times it's businesses who most likely got the merchandise back, and so they're not going to pursue anything. Or it could be a number of reasons why they don't respond to us. When you guys will get a victim impact statement if one is filled out and returned to us. Arbitration has a $500 cap of restitution. So if we know ahead of time if it's a damage to property case and it's $1,000 damages, we're not going to send that to arbitration. Arbitration can't handle it because of the cap. Unless you have 2 co-defendants, then they can split it, and then arbitration will get it if they're first-time offenders. So that's kind of how that is also a factor into whether it goes into arbitration or a different program or court. So we'll get that filled out. Frankie and I will make contact with the victim. Hey, we received your victim impact statement. Your case will go to arbitration. We'll explain to them what the arbitration hearing is like, that they're not going in front of a judge, that they're going in front of a volunteer in the community, and kind of what they can expect. And generally, and then the case goes to Ray in Beverly. And so at that point, that's when they're notifying victims of when the hearing is, because that's a lot of hearings, and we also have victims for court. So Beverly kind of takes over that. So she notifies, they send out letters to the victim saying when the hearing's going to be, so that they are notified. If we don't notify a victim, we're violating their rights, and we can be held in trouble for that. So a victim is always going to be notified initially through a phone call, then through the victim impact statement. If they return it, then we're going to be calling them. If they don't return it and we've made that phone call, we've done what we can. They get a letter, they get a phone call, they don't return it, that's it. So,
Excuse me for a second.
Sure.
Can the victims challenge the arbitration process?
they can tell us they're not comfortable with it. We will call them into a meeting with the solicitor, and the solicitor will talk to them. We try to get that before it gets to the hearing. So that's what we do when we explain it. Now, sometimes we've had, in a few occasions, a victim get into the hearing. We've explained it to them, they come into the hearing, they're not okay with it for one reason or another. If you're not comfortable at that point, you can stop the hearing. You can just tell everybody, I need to let the solicitors know, and Mr. Moore will be back in contact with you. You let him know what happened, and we'll take it back from there. I haven't had it happen but one time, and we were all kind of blindsided from the restitution on it. But it was an older gentleman, and there might have been some dementia, and so we had to get his daughter involved to kind of clear things up for us on that end. That's the only time really we were like surprised. So a lot of the cases, obviously you guys will have first-time offenders, a lot of time fights, so then you might have co-defendants. So they might have originally been charged with assault and battery third, they each are charged with it, so that makes them both a defendant and a victim. Most of the time the solicitor will go with public disorderly conduct fighting, which takes away the victim, which takes away a lot of the issues of back and forth. You both fought, this is what it is. So we try to, again, get that on the front end of it, so you guys aren't having to deal with, well, I'm a victim, well, so am I. Well, you both fought, so yes and, well, no. We do fill out SOVA forms, South Carolina Office of Victim Assistance. I don't know if you've heard of that office. So if you're a victim of a crime in the state of South Carolina, no matter where you live, but if you're a victim here, and there are medical bills, funeral bills, anything not related to damaged property, we will help them fill out a form to get compensation from SOVA. But we do that on the, again, that's all on the front end. If there's that much, then generally that's gonna be a court case anyways. But that is something that the state offers for victims of crime. And a lot of time that's more, again, it's never damage to property. It's medical, it's also counseling bills. If you've missed work as a result of the crime, which our kids aren't missing work in school, so they can't be compensated for that, and generally the parents aren't either because they're not the direct victim of the crime. So a lot of parents will ask us about that too. If you get asked that question, just say, hey, you know what, let me give you, contact the victim advocate that you have. We've probably already talked to him by then, but generally they don't compensate for parents missing work. Unfortunately, they're not the main victim of the crime. I've never had to sit in on an arbitration hearing. If they want me to, I will, or Frankie will, or Mary will. They've not asked us to. Generally, there's not ever been a problem in the hearing that we have been made aware of. We have had cases recommended for arbitration that the victim just was absolutely not happy about it, so we handled it on our end and again and didn't send it to arbitration. So we try to make it so you don't have a conflict, because you do have a defendant and a victim in the same room, and you guys, so we don't want there to be a conflict or any kind of issues, so we try to get that, and that's when we talk to them a lot. In court, I mean, not that you guys are there, but what we do is we sit with the victim can talk to the judge, they can exercise that right if they want to, and we help them through that process. So our job from beginning to end is to explain the whole court process, whatever case they're tracked or whatever track their case is taking. We help them through that until it's over. In court, it's over if they go to DJJ, and then that becomes they become DJJ's responsibility. They have to notify them of what's going on with the defendant, where the restitution is, if it's ordered, that sort of thing. If the juvenile is put in, a wilderness camp or something like that, they have to notify them that they're being released, or they have to notify them if they're violating them, if they're not doing probation. We notify them in arbitration if the sanctions are complete, and we have to take them to court. If the sanctions are complete, they're notified of that as well. Do you guys have any questions? It's a huge general overview in like 2 seconds.
You said there's arbitration.
Juvenile pretrial diversion and court.
Do you know what you said is in here?
Probably not too much is in there. I'll have to, do you mind if I look at yours?
No.
Let me look and see. Because our part is kind of, so, yeah, so that's the letter. That just kind of explains, yeah, that's pretty much everything. That's the SOVA application that I was telling you about, what that looks like. You would never have to fill this out, ever. That's my job and Frankie's. You'll probably never see that form, ever. We send that out, and again, this is something that is more than $500, and we're trying to get them the restitution quicker, because a lot of the defendants' families don't have the money to pay the restitution. And when you're talking about 13, 14-year-olds, a judge can't really hold them liable for so much. They don't have jobs. Now, they can sue the defendant civilly to get whatever a judge doesn't order, but a lot of times the victims simply don't have that kind of money either to hire an attorney to do that. So we'll fill out the SOVA claim, especially for doctor bills. I had one kid that was assaulted that his jaw was just wrecked, and so we, insurance only pays so much, and then SOVA comes in. So SOVA is the payer of last resort. If the insurance company will pay it, they're supposed to pay it, and then SOVA will come in and pick up what wasn't paid. We take the bills and show the judge, this is what they've had to pay so far, and they have to eat special food, here's the receipt for that. That'll be up to the judge. So we try to do SOVA in those cases quickly to get them money faster. Civil will then go after the defendant to get reimbursed. A lot of times they're not, because they're juveniles. But we still, that's when we fill out a SOVA form. And then that's the victim impact statement.
Since they're juveniles, don't their parents, aren't they liable in that case?
They're liable civilly, but the judge has to look at what the child can do, and they don't generally have jobs. They can order restitution, and then if they've done everything and not paid restitution, DJJ would violate them and bring them back, and a judge could simply say, they've done everything they can, we're done. They could give them time if they wanted, but generally by the time we get to that point, we know what the family's gonna be able to do and not do, and we try to help them. We try to help make the victim whole, understanding that unfortunately the defendant just, if they don't have it, can't get what out of the turnip, but let's see alternatives we can help you with. And DJJ even has a fund to help victims that kids will put like $25 towards the victim fund. And so DJJ will try to help. But again, if you're talking large quantity medical bills, we're gonna get SOVA involved pretty quickly to help out with that. And they have certain criteria that has to be met, but again, they can also waive it if it's, you have to get it within 180 days, but we had a case that we got a year after it happened, got transferred to us, and he never filled out a SOVA form, so I had to write, well, we're over 180 days, but this is why, and they waived it because they understood that it should have been filled out sooner, and that victim needed to be made whole. So, but a lot of times, with you guys, the most you're talking is $500, and after that, then we have to take them to court because the crime, or the arbitration doesn't go past that. So it helps if it's like a damage to property, again, it's $1,000, but the co-defendants can split it, so now we can go to arbitration and then a lot of times they'll get it done within arbitration, but if they can't, then, they'll let us know, we'll send out a letter, hey, do you need more time, what do you need? We don't try to just kick them out. It's due August 31st and September 1st, we're sending them off. So a lot of their parents make them work really hard at home to earn that money, because I know if my kids did something right now, oh my.
You'd have free labor for.
I would. So, and you would have to work really hard. But for the most part, we don't have very many difficult victims. It's hard that they're here for the reason that they're here, but they understand. And again, you're not going to see Walmart show up an arbitration hearing. They don't even come to court. If they've gotten their restitution back and they can sell it, that's all they're interested in. And then they'll give them a trespass notice and they can't go back to Walmart. And they handle all that. You'll see assault victims that'll come, petty larceny victims may come. But I would have to ask Ray how many victims actually come to arbitration hearings. I don't think there's too many. The important thing is, though, if you do get a copy of the victim impact statement, you don't show it to the defendant. That's for your eyes only. We don't show it to their attorney at court. We just say, well, we need to. Now, if there's a page that they write something, if there's something that you think is important that you can hit home that's general, then you can do that, but you don't show them the victim impact statement, because that has confidential information, where they're living, what their phone number is, and granted, they know they're victims, but still, we don't share that impact statement. That's for your eyes only. Do you have any other questions? Pretty quick, pretty easy. All right, I'll let them know I'm done. I think you have another half hour. Well, there's still time for that.
How did y'all hear about the opportunity to volunteer? I'm just curious about this. By the way, just so you know, I've been with this office for 2 years, but I work with the DUI unit in adult court. So we do DUI first. So I've been working in the office as a paralegal, but I'm moving to my new position with juveniles, which I'm thrilled about. Went to juvenile court the other day for the first time. Pretty amazing. Very, I'm so impressed with just the opportunities to turn things around, for these juveniles. Yeah,
So you're gonna cut it off and then what